most people in this space are addicted to awakening. Not to being awake, to awakening. The seeking, the next insight, the next transmission, the next piece of content that makes them feel like they're getting closer. And I say this not to judge. I say it because I did it too. Because there's something deeply comfortable about being almost there. Almost there means you don't have to arrive. Almost there means you're still protected by the search. This video is not going to give you another thing to search for. It's going to ask you to look at why you're still searching. Before the books, before the language, before you had words like vibration and timeline and 5D, you knew something. Not because you learned it, because you felt it. The sense that things were connected, that the world had a texture to it most people were ignoring. That you were part of something that didn't have a name. That knowing didn't go anywhere. It got buried under urgency, under other people's fear, under a world that systematically rewards distraction and calls it productivity. But here's the thing nobody in this space says clearly enough. You are not behind. You are not missing a piece. You are not one more retreat, one more ceremony, one more video away from finally being okay. The light you've been chasing, it's not ahead of you. It has been generating you this entire time, through every wrong turn, every dark year, every moment you were convinced you were broken. The question was never, how do I find it? The question is, why do you keep building a story where it isn't there? Every second, your brain is doing one thing above everything else, confirming what it already believes, not discovering, confirming. This is documented, measurable, consistent across every human brain ever studied. Confirmation bias isn't a flaw, it's the operating system. And here's what that means for you specifically. If your baseline belief is, things don't work out for me, your brain will find evidence for that every single day. Not because reality is against you. Because your brain is optimized to be right, not to be happy. You can meditate for 2 hours a day. You can recite every affirmation ever written. You can know, intellectually, that you are whole and worthy and connected to Source, and still wake up feeling like none of it is true. Because knowledge doesn't update the program, experience does, repetition does, and most critically, interruption does. The work isn't about acquiring new beliefs. It's about catching the old ones mid-sentence, before they finish the thought, before the confirmation fires. In that gap, that fraction of a second before the story completes itself, that's where every real shift begins. Not in a ceremony, not in a peak experience, in a Tuesday afternoon, mid-thought, when you notice what you're about to believe and choose differently. Most people will spend their entire lives trying to change their reality without ever questioning the identity generating it. They'll change jobs, change cities, change partners, change spiritual practices, and carry the same self into every single one. Because the self is the variable nobody wants to touch. It's the most intimate thing you have. It feels like truth. It feels like you. But here's what it actually is: a collection of conclusions you drew, mostly before the age of 10, about what the world is, what you are, and what's possible for someone like you. A timeline isn't a path you walk down, it's a field you generate. And you don't find a better timeline. You become the version of yourself that timeline is native to, which means, and this is the part that's genuinely uncomfortable, you cannot think your way into a higher timeline, while protecting the identity that created the current one. Something has to be released. Not healed, not fixed, not transmuted with light. Released. The story that you are the kind of person certain things don't happen to. The belief that safety comes from controlling the outcome. The identity built around being the one who almost made it. These aren't spiritual problems, they're structural ones, and no amount of alignment work touches them until you're willing to see them clearly. There's something almost nobody in this space will say directly, so I will. The spiritual search, done unconsciously, is one of the most effective avoidance strategies ever invented. Think about it. As long as you're seeking, you're always in process, always becoming, always justified in not having arrived yet. And the seeking feels meaningful. It feels like progress. It generates real emotions, hope, insight, expansion. But underneath it, for a lot of people, is a quiet terror of what happens if they actually stop, if they actually arrive, if they look at their life, not from the perspective of the seeker who just needs a little more time, but from the perspective of someone who already has everything they need. Because that person has no excuse left. That person has to actually live. Rumi wrote, "I've been knocking from the inside." You are not the seeker moving toward the light. You are the light, running a very convincing story about being in the dark. And the moment you stop needing the story to change before you feel okay, not as a spiritual concept, as a lived, embodied, actual choice, that's when things move. The beliefs holding you back weren't chosen. They were installed. A parent's anxiety became your nervous system's baseline. A teacher's dismissal became your ceiling. A culture's definition of normal became the invisible walls of your imagination. And the insidious thing about installed beliefs is that they don't feel like beliefs. They feel like facts. I'm not the kind of person who, that's just how I am. Things like that don't happen for me. Observations, not beliefs. That's how they feel. But they're not observations. They're predictions dressed as history. And they don't dissolve through fighting. Fighting a belief gives it structure, makes it feel more real, more worth defending. They dissolve through witnessing. The moment you can see a belief clearly, not agree with it, not argue with it, just see it, you've already created distance between you and it. You are not the thought. You are the awareness that noticed the thought existed. And in that gap, that small, quiet space between stimulus and story, everything can change. Psychology calls this diffusion. Contemplative traditions call it presence. Both pointing at the same thing. You have far more room inside you than the old story has been taking up. ... Almost everything you've ever heard about abundance is built on the wrong foundation. Attract more, manifest more, align and receive. Underneath all of it, I don't have enough yet. Help me get there. Which means the practice itself is running on scarcity. You cannot dissolve a scarcity mindset using scarcity as the engine. A tree produces 10,000 blossoms, not because it calculated that it had enough resources. It produces them because that's what happens when something is healthy and rooted and not contracting around fear. The blossoms are not the goal. They're the evidence that the contraction stopped. This is what nobody tells you about abundance. It's not something you attract. It's what's left when you stop blocking it. The question isn't, How do I get more into my life? The question is, where am I still closed? Where am I still gripping? Where am I still running the program that says there isn't enough, that I'm not enough, that the universe is fundamentally a place of scarcity? Find that place. That's your actual work, not the affirmations, not the visualization, the opening. I want to end with the only thing I actually want you to take from this. Not a framework, not a practice. Just this. You are not behind. You have not missed the window. The version of you that is genuinely free, not spiritually performing freedom, not seeking freedom, but actually free. That version is not somewhere in your future. It's the version that has been underneath every story you've ever told about yourself. The path isn't about becoming something new. It's about stopping the active, daily, habitual work of convincing yourself you're something less. Recognizing the difference is the whole game. If something in this landed somewhere you didn't expect, drop it in the comments. Not for the algorithm, because what lands differently for different people is how I know where to go deeper next. See you in the next one.
Thanks for watching.